Jonathan Roumie confirms that we will see the Last Supper and the Garden of Gethsemane in a new interview with Pints with Aquinas, I think is the name of the podcast that Jonathan was just recently on, where he did a long interview talking about his time playing Jesus and just the intricacies of that. It's a very good interview. I'd recommend you go listen to the whole thing. Today we're going to look at some parts of one clip from this interview that reveals some very interesting things about some stuff we could see upcoming in The Chosen Season 5, but this interview was great. It's really, really cool. Let's talk about it today. Hello, my name is Eli Hollingsworth. Welcome back to Against the Current, The Chosen podcast, the biggest podcast about the Chosen TV series. And let's go ahead and roll that intro. So we're just going to kind of skim through this video here, talk about some specific clips and interesting parts. I hope that you will find it interesting or somewhat entertaining. And if you do, be sure to let me know by leaving a like and commenting down below and subscribing to Against the Current, The Chosen podcast if you haven't already. But let's go ahead and jump into this.
So many people they grew up with this image of Jesus as this stern taskmaster that, if you're not perfect, you may as well go to hell. It's like, whoa. No. That is the opposite. It's the opposite. Look who he hung out with. Who did he hang out with? Prostitutes, tax collectors, cheats, thieves, like people that...
And people don't hang out with people who make them feel ashamed all the time.
Yeah.
So it's not
Why
like,
would they?
yeah, he did hang out with them, but he was always like, you're not good enough, you suck, try harder. No one hangs out with people like that.
Right.
There was an affection for Christ.
Yeah.
I am shocked. She is from the Red Quarter. Much of what is done there cannot even be spoken by my tongue or cross my lips. It is so unholy. The mere mention of it would defile me.
Go and learn what this means. I desire mercy, more than sacrifice.
I think being able to shatter those myths for people through the way we're introducing him in the story and introducing his humanity at a pace that has never been explored before, because nobody's ever done a long...
Right, and that's the benefit of Jonathan playing Jesus in The Chosen. The Chosen is the mission statement is to give people an experience with the authentic Jesus, right? And so maybe not exactly proclaiming all the teachings of Jesus, but sharing the story of Jesus, the greatest story ever told, and revealing the character of Jesus, the character and intentions of Jesus. So even in the actions that he does that are maybe not specifically from the four canonical Gospels, is all meant to be included in this idea of just showing who Jesus was. Like, who is this person? Who is this character that we get? Maybe even including some attributes from other places that we find in the Bible, like in the Old Testament or in the New Testament of Scripture, about God and Jesus, who are, in the hypostatic union, which I think Jonathan is going to mention here in a second, is the true, character of this person, God, Jesus, this God incarnate in a person, and what that humanity looks like. Because Jonathan, as he says in this interview, doesn't have access to that divinity part, but he does have access to 100% of the human part, which is all anybody saw, probably, from Jesus when he was walking around on earth. So that's what the disciples saw, that's what the people around him witnessed, was this humanity. They witnessed, his divinity, but his divinity was clothed in human form. So that's the great benefit of Jonathan playing the Jesus in The Chosen. And there's nothing wrong with that, obviously, but... although some people find issue, but this is just, and Jonathan does a fantastic job. It really is marvelous to watch. It's crazy how good of an actor he is here in these scenes. But in the show, he's amazing.
Long form telling of Jesus' story, of his just his ministry time. Nobody's done that, and so in doing so, we're recognizing that people are appreciating his humanity. And developing such an affinity for him that when we get to the crucifixion, they don't know. People are going to be beside themselves. They don't even have to see the crucifixion. I mean, I'm assuming we'll see the crucifixion, but you almost don't even have to see the crucifixion. Like I'm
Yes, we all hope. I mean, I don't know. Do we hope we see the crucifixion or do we not? Because I know that, like he's saying, we're all going to be beside ourselves. I don't think anybody's going to be able to handle it. Like he's saying, this is kind of, we're developing a connection to this Jesus character, which we all, I think, most of us have in our day-to-day lives. We have a connection with this person of Jesus and a relationship with him. But that's going to be really tough for anybody to watch now that we've gotten to know this character so well, and we've seen him and the character of him and the way Jonathan plays him with a mellowness and a tenderness, loving way to him, as well as, the righteous anger and the powerful roaring lion-esque attributes of Jesus. But the tenderness and the humanity really comes through. So that's going to be really tough to see him on the cross, like Jonathan is saying here. But should be very interesting. Now, he just said, we're assuming that we're going to see Jesus on the cross. But I am very curious as to how The Chosen is going to portray Jesus on the cross, because we don't really know how The Chosen is going to do that. They like to take a different angle to things, show things how they haven't exactly been shown on screen before, and not be like other adaptations. So I wonder how they will portray the crucifixion, but it'll be interesting.
Friends with Russell Brand, and he said to me, he's like, he met this guy who was like this hard man, been through a lot, and he had said to him, he's like, he's been watching The Chosen, and he's like, I don't want to see him go to the cross. I like this guy. I like him a lot.
Now, here's something interesting about Jonathan that I really appreciate, is that first and foremost, Jonathan is a voice actor. I'm sure some of you know that, but that's where he got his career and his start in the industry was voice acting. That's really where his heart lies. So even in person, like, it's kind of funny to watch, because I think this is just a common attribute of most voice actors in general. But he'll just be talking, and then he'll switch, into this some funny or silly voice that he does, different accents or different tones and inflections. That's really, really cool of him, and I think that's just a testament to his talent. Like, I just love, everything that he's done. He has some very obscure roles. He's been in like an Assassin's Creed cinematic, and he's played Robin, Batman's sidekick, in a Batman video game from the early 2000s. Like, he's just done so much. I think he was in Wonder Pets too. Just like one-liners in this stuff. He just has done so many cool roles that I don't think get nearly enough exposure. But this is just an attribute of that. I think he does it again in another part we'll look at in the interview. But he just slips, almost like instinctively, and he doesn't even think about it. Like, subconsciously just slips into these voices that are very much not his own voice, which is just really cool. I love that about him, and it's just funny to see.
I'm afraid to see him go to the cross, and so when you get these big tough guys that are all of a sudden now affected because they've been developing this affinity, this genuine affection for Jesus, it's like, whoa, that's what it is. That's what we all need to feel.
And that's the benefit of having this be told in, just showing the story of Jesus, right? They skip over a lot of his preaching and teaching, or some of it. They don't skip over all of it. There's parts where Jesus is teaching and addressing people, but it's called the greatest story ever told for a reason. And storytelling, in fiction, or in this case, as we believe, it's nonfiction, right? But storytelling really, like, it brings down your walls, or the walls that we have, skeptical, critical thinking that we see when we're, getting lectured or reading a memoir or an article or something. Just someone saying something to you is not received in the same way as if you see it portrayed in a story. So I could have some crazy harebrained idea. Like, I could be like, you know what, man, the sky is red. And you could all be like, I could say that to you, and you're like, wow, you're a crazy person. But if I made a story portraying that idea and showing to you how the sky is red, or, just something like that, portraying that, telling that in some way, you'd receive it in a much different way. You maybe still wouldn't agree with it, but you certainly would be more open to thinking about it than if I just told it to you. So that's the benefit of The Chosen in general, is taking the story of Jesus and portraying it, showing it to people. One of the rules of thumb of cinema is show, don't tell, right? If you want a character to have a specific emotion, don't say, Johnny is sad. Just have Johnny look sad and have the audience infer for themselves what's going on. And that leaves some up to interpretation. There's some scenes in The Chosen that are even up for interpretation, which is really, really cool. And it just makes it more of an interactive thing, something that you can own as your own, because you feel like you were a part of it, because it leaves your own critical brain and thinking up to decide things for itself, or yourself, or however that sentence structure would go. But so that has an effect on this even hardened man that Russell Brand was talking about, that he knows, who watches The Chosen. Now he's like, I like that Jesus guy. I don't want to see him die. So, very interesting.
That's what we should all feel about Jesus going to the cross what happens when he first gets slapped? I mean, I think people are going to be like,
I know that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't slap him. I like him. Yeah.
yeah. So
That's interesting.
it'd be really, I'm really curious how people are going to perceive it and receive it. I'm just kind of coming out of this experience, so I don't want to complain too much, but I'm honestly exhausted.
Bless you. Well, you look good.
Real, bro. Like that's
what
I bet, you know,
Nancy
right?
Parker, my hair and makeup artist, does for me. That's
Okay.
and there's miracles in those fingers. I'm really excited to get to talk to you here and be here. But it is it was the most difficult 2 weeks. It was the most difficult 2 weeks of my career. And spiritually, like, I think there was a lot of anxiety. Like, I Robert Powell played Jesus in Jesus of Nazareth in an interview. Somebody, asked him.
Here, yeah, he's gonna do another voice again.
Like,
Here,
what's
this
it
is what he
like to
does.
play Jesus, basically. And he's like, he's unplayable. You can't play Jesus. He's unplayable. Meaning, like, how do you wrap your mind around Jesus Christ, divinity, humanity, hypostatic union, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Hypostatic union. Yeah.
so I can't even begin to think about. Well, I know what it's like to play divinity. I don't. I only know what it's like to be human and woefully so and failingly so and so all I can do is bring the utmost of my humanity and my intention to and desire to serve Christ and to honor Him and to get out of the way of the Holy Spirit and try to understand through the help of the Holy Spirit and to ask Jesus, what did you experience here? What did you experience sitting at this table? And there's John, and perhaps here's Judas. Like, what was that like? What's going on in the pit of his stomach, knowing what's coming as a person, as a human? Like, did he have butterflies? Was he, every time he looked at him, did he want to cry? Did he want, but, so those kinds of things. And then in the garden, it's like, well, what does it mean to sweat blood or sweat like drops of blood? Like, what?
So
causes
yes,
that?
so what Jonathan's talking about here is, and it's like hemophilititis or something like that, some kind of name like that, which is a real scientific condition, which is where your sweat glands erupt or your blood vessels erupt, and then it causes your blood to stream into your sweat glands, and then you start sweating blood and sweat, which is a real scientific condition that happens when, I think, after prolonged stress or depression, and then like in times of great anxiety. So like people usually experience it before they die, like if they're in execution or something. So that's what Jonathan's referring to there, which is what Jesus experienced in the Garden of Gethsemane. But what he's confirming kind of here is that he's looking into the perspective of these scenes of the Last Supper and the Garden of Gethsemane, which pretty much confirms, and will confirm it. He will say it in a second that we're going to get the Garden of Gethsemane and the Last Supper in The Chosen season 5. Very exciting. But yeah, so that's a great perspective that he has. And again, none of us will ever know what it's like to be Jonathan Roumie and to have to experience this on top of, the fame aspect of being an actor on a popular TV show, which is already, enough for most people in life just to be like, yeah, I don't want that. I'm out. That already is a lot to deal with, very tough, very hard, and a lot of intricate, complicated things with that. Fame in general, which is just so weird. But then on top of that, he's playing, as he believes and as we believe, was like the most important, impactful, and, resonant person in the world, who is, a figure of divinity and of, all these things. So it's really, really, interesting. And I have no idea what it would be like to be Jonathan Roumie. None of us do. Only he does, and that's crazy. That's why they made a documentary on it for Amazon Prime, right? Because there's so much going on there. Mentally, I'm sure it's crazy. But very interesting stuff that he's saying there.
But when I last left my house before I started filming in Utah in April, I took a look around and I thought, the next time I see this place, I will have completed the Last Supper in the Garden of Gethsemane.
Woohoo! Woo-wee! Yeah, woo-wee, there we go. Confirmation. Season 5 will feature the Last Supper. We know it's going to feature the Last Supper, but we didn't quite know about the Garden of Gethsemane. In the last few weeks of Chosen Season 5 filming, there was just a giant blue screen and then some forest locations that might have been the Garden of Gethsemane, but that's confirmation right there, ladies and gentlemen. Not to take away from this moment, because it's about to be really serious, but
And I was overwhelmed with emotion. I was like, sorry. Because that means the journey's almost over. And I've spent the better part of 6 years with my best mate, you know, talking to him and asking him for advice and how do I play this scene and what did he go through, and allow me even a modicum of the experience that you had, even like a percent of a percent of a percent, to be able to understand authentically and portray authentically what you went through. And when I don't necessarily have that anymore, I don't know. I don't know what it'll be like. I mean, I'd probably be pretty down for a while. I think everybody, when you're on a show for so long and then you don't have it, there's a little bit of a depression, I would imagine.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, I'm not trying to project that or whatever, or say woe is me or anything like that, but it's like, oh man, this ride that I've been on is it's going to be over soon. So despite everything, I'm trying to be as present as I can every step of the way, in a way that I hadn't been even the first 4 seasons, because I wasn't thinking about the cross. I wasn't thinking about the end. I was trying to be present just to what's happening now.
Yeah.
But especially as I consider the end, I'm like doubly present. I'm like,
It's like my kids. I had kids, they're little toddlers. All you think is the chaos of, and now I've got a kid who's about to leave home, and I'm like, oh no, no. And now it's like that. I want to be so intentional, because I haven't been as intentional as I wish I was. But
because we take things for granted as humans. It's just part of our nature, I think.
remember Andy Bernard's line in the last episode of The Office? Everyone who watched The Office remembers this.
I wish there was a way to know you're in the good old days before you've actually left them.
All right, so there you have it. There's a look at that interview with Jonathan Roumie and Pites with Aquinas. If you want to go check out the full interview, go check out the channel. I'll link it somewhere in the description, or you can just go find it. Very, very cool. Very interesting stuff, especially what he was saying at the end there about he's been with his, as he says, his best mate for the better part of 6 years, and now he's going to leave that, you know, as we're getting closer to the end here, and now he's being more intentional. It's going to be crazy. That's a crazy position to be in. Again, none of us will ever understand what it's like, but it's just insane to think about. You know, it's interesting, you know, his rhetoric, even as he was talking, he switched to talking directly to Jesus. He says, I've been with you. You've allowed me to experience a percentage of a percentage of a percentage of what you experienced here on this planet. And that was just super interesting and cool to me. I just thought that was a really cool clip that I wanted to point out and share with you guys. So let me know what you thought. Have you listened to this interview? Let me know down below in the description. Do you want me to talk to Jonathan? I'd love to. But we'll have to see where that goes. Chosen Con is coming up in just a few weeks here. I hope you guys will be there. I want to meet every single one of you. It's going to be very exciting. Can't wait to see you guys there. And I'll see you guys in my next video, whenever that will be. Binge Jesus.